Let's read, because there's no way Moses could have been in Pharaoh's house and if he was white and he trying to kill a whole bunch of white Israelites. No, but he blended in. But let's read this. Exodus 2 and 11. It says, "And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian, and hid him in the sand. So he killed this Egyptian. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together, and he said to him that did the wrong, Wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me, as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known." Okay, so at this time he killed this Egyptian. He said, man, people know about it. So, and even after that, it tells you, if you read further, it says Pharaoh sought to kill Moses. So Moses fled to the land of Midian. Now let's read this. In verse 16 of Exodus 2, it says, "Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel their father, he said, How is it that ye are come so soon today?" Listen to what his daughter said. Verse 19. "And they said, An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us, and watered the flock." They mistook Moses, even though he was an Israelite of the tribe of Levi, as an Egyptian. Why? Because he looked like an Egyptian. What did the Egyptians look like? We read the works of Diop. We read one of the ancient writers. We read some of the scholars and what they said. The Egyptians were of a black African race. Okay? So again, Israel and the Egyptians look very similar in skin color. Let's even when you read about Jesus and how Herod was killing all the babies 2 years old and under. Where did Jesus hide? Joseph and Mary, they hid in Egypt. Just like Moses. Moses is a prophet like unto Jesus. That's another lesson. But you see, what kind of hiding do you do amongst some people that don't look anything like you? Now, if you want to blend in, you go amongst your own. Or at least people that look like you. So you are indistinguishable. But let's go to Exodus 4. Exodus 4 and show you something else. Just show you these simple things in the Bible, letting you know that, hey, these Israelites are black people. And religious scholars will tell you this. Historians know this. Seems like the only people that really don't know are the actual Israelites. And I deal with that more in this second lesson about who Israel is. But Exodus 4 and 1. "And Moses answered and said, But behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, The Lord hath not appeared unto thee." So this is when the Lord has manifested himself unto Moses, and when he's chosen him to fulfill his mission of delivering his people. He says, hey, they won't believe me. So what does he do? He gives them a sign. Okay? First he tells him to cast his staff on the ground. When he cast it to the ground, it became a serpent. Okay, that was one sign. He also gives him another. In verse 6 it says, "And the Lord said furthermore unto him," talking to Moses, "Put now thine hand into thy bosom." And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. And he said, "Put thine hand into thy bosom again." And he put his hand into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom, and behold, it was turned again as is of the flesh. Brothers and sisters, it's just like if I put my hand right now in my shirt, this black hand, this brown, dark-skinned hand, and pull it out, and it's white as snow. That's just what happened. Now, if my hand is white and I'm white, and I put my hand in my bosom, and it comes out whiter, what kind of sign is that? That's a weak sign. But now, if I put a black hand in a bosom, and pull it out, and it's white as snow, that was the sign. And signs were used just like even when Jesus came and the apostles preached and they healed people. and cast out demons. Those signs were used so that people would hear the message. Okay? And that's why he gave him this sign, so people would hear the message. But again, what kind of sign is it if a white hand goes into a bosom and comes out white? That's a weak sign. Acts 21. Because even in the New Testament, and let me point something out to you. All the Israelites are the only ones you read about as far as the prophets and the apostles, disciples. They are Israelites. Okay? And these Israelites are black people. Here, even Paul. Paul was an Israelite of the tribe of Benjamin. Okay? Religious sect of a Pharisee at one time. He tell you that. But he was black. Okay? Regardless, I know you see a lot of depictions of Israel and God and Jesus as white people. Okay? You need to see Da Vinci's works, but these are false misrepresentations of what the Israelites actually look like. Okay? All through the scripture, they are described as black. Okay? Because they are mistaken for Egyptians, who are, as we read in the ancient writers, as we read by Diop, as we read in other historians, they are black people. But here, let's look at Acts the 21st chapter. In verse 37, it reads, "And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar, and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Sicilia, a citizen of no mean city. And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people." See, even Paul, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later, was mistaken as an Egyptian. Why? Because he was black and the Egyptians were black. And so this jailer just mistook him for an Egyptian. Okay? Let's go to Lamentations 5. Because there are even accounts in the scripture that tells you the color of Israel. What that skin color looked like. Pay attention. Lamentations 5 and 1. It says, "Remember, O Lord, what has come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. Our inheritance is turned to strangers. Our houses to aliens." These are the lamentations of Jeremiah when Israel was cast into slavery. They were conquered at this time. And they are still even conquered today. Okay? Because Israel went in and out of slavery. Okay? And aliens are in our houses, and our inheritance is turned to strangers even until this day. But verse 5. "Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest." Israel is in the same condition today. Sure, you have those few that have prospered, but on a mass scale, Israel is suffering. Verse 10. "Our skin," this is during this time, "our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine." Brothers and sisters, black skin, you have to have darker skin in order for it to turn darker, because that's what manifests, that's what happens when there is sickness amongst black people. A lot of times they'll get darker. Look at cancer patients, black cancer patients, their skin will get darker. If there's a famine, brown skin will turn darker. That doesn't happen to white people. White people don't get black like an oven during famine. Let me read that again. "Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine." Okay, the famine turned their skin black. Okay, let's go to Revelation 2. Because, again, Jesus was an Israelite of the tribe of Judah. Let's see what he looked like. Okay? We're going to Revelation 1 and verse 10.